What's up, guys? So today I want to make a video about difficult karma in a natal chart. So I am Jesse, Karmic astrologer, so obviously this is one of my main topics. Now I want to be very clear before I start that it is very, very difficult to look at a natal chart and tell if someone has good or bad karma. So when I say difficult karma, I mean that they are working through a lot. I'm not necessarily saying that they have bad karma, that they are a bad person. Some good souls or people who are, evolved souls choose to take on very, very difficult karma in certain lifetimes. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're just, bad, right? So, all right, let's get started. So first thing is a lot of 12th house planets, also 8th house, and you could even add the 4th house as well, but I would focus more on the 12th and the 8th, so mostly the 12th. The reason being is that the 12th house is the house that's related to Neptune, to Pisces, and it is known as the most karmic house, right? And when you have a lot of your planets, especially your personal planets there, personal planets are your big three: Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter is kind of like a middle planet. But when you have those there, and add Saturn too, right? Even though that's like an outer planet. But the point is that past lives are playing a huge role in your current incarnation. So it can take a lot of different forms, and I have a full video on the 12th house. It's very, very, very interesting, but a big part of it is about karmic endings. And it's very common for 12th house people to feel like their life is going in this endless loop of BS, and they're just like, why can't I get it right? And then they start, living a spiritual life, being of service in some type of way where they're not doing it just to like be of service, to kind of show that they're a good person, or like with any thought of receiving anything back in their mind. They're just doing it from their hearts. Things start to change. It's crazy. I've seen it so many times. So yeah, like also the 12th house, and 8th house, these are, the Scorpio and Pisces houses, right? So it's an easy way to think about it. So these, when you have a lot of your personal planets, which represent personal parts of you, personal functions, in these houses, you have to dive really deep within yourself internally to understand them. So yeah, that is something, and I just remembered that I need to take notes when I'm making these videos to tell my editor. But so let me just open it up real quick. But yeah, so guys, really it's important to know with 12th house that it could be the house of repressed energies. So yeah. So basically, I thought I stopped the video there. People with those energies, like I said, sometimes they're just not available to them. And that's why you need to have that deep dive within to really, really move forward. So anyways, let me see. Okay. Yeah, so I guess like a key word would be like letting go, surrender. And usually people will push back against that until they just can't go any longer. They just, but everyone's different. Everyone's different. Lots of politicians have heavy 12th houses. It's very interesting. So a lot of alone time is really important. A lot of introspection, and yeah, service. Okay, exactly. So next is a lot of retrograde planets, namely Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So the way I look at that, I mean, I look at it in many different ways, but and I'm going to be on my phone throughout this video. I hope you guys aren't annoyed by that. I'm going to have a better system soon. But yeah, for now, I just have to do it like this. But yeah, anyways, so I look at that as karmic do-overs, but in the sense that if you think about, okay, a lot of people watching this will be like, well, I have Saturn, I have Uranus, I have Neptune, all of them retrograde, Pluto, well, those planets are retrograde 40% of the time. So it's not like how could it be that big of a deal, the sniffles, guys, sniffles. that one, like, there's different theories about it, but I focus more on the ones that are, the Mercury, Mars, and Venus, because those are personal planets, right? So it's like, I could do a whole video on like the retrograde of Saturn, and like a lot of people will say that's like a life do-over, right? Like because Saturn is your karma, so it's like a karmic do-over in this lifetime. But I need to like really go into a full video on that, because that's a big statement, right? And I don't like big statements. I do, but I like, if you're gonna make a big statement, like I want to dissect it. I don't want to just say a big statement like that. So, but what I will say is that the theme of either having overdone or underdone something in past lives, right? So, for example, someone who, let's say, and I'll see this with their nodes. Let's say I'm doing a client reading, right? And I actually can think of one recently where they had, I don't always remember the exact placements, I remember the essence, but they basically had like a karmic story that I was seeing where it was like, okay, this person has not spoken up for themselves. They haven't learned in past lives how to be assertive and how to have their own back and how to create strong boundaries. And in this life, because they have the Mercury retrograde, they're meant to have this more internal dialogue that makes them sort of analyze themselves and analyze why they are the way why they think, why they communicate, why they think the way they think, why they communicate the way they communicate, and then so it can get like a more abstract mind, but it's very karmic too, because in that chart, for example, it's because she didn't speak up, in that past life. She didn't speak up. There was something that was off with her communication. And then with Mars, it's similar, right? It's like the overacting or underacting, acting in the right way, acting in the wrong way. It could be someone who had anger issues, or someone who didn't stand up when they needed to stand up, or just like the way that their action, Mars is your action, your forward movement. Like they just weren't moving in the right way. They just weren't moving in the right way. So in this life, it's like, all right, like we're gonna push that more internally, and you're gonna really have like, and especially in those first 30 years, a lot more internal thought about that. And Venus, I think of that, yeah. So Mercury, yeah, a lot about speaking your truth. Venus, I think about love and more so self-love. So I think like, the Venus retrograde, yeah, I mean, sometimes people with that are too, like, it's like love karma. Maybe they have some stuff going on in past lives, unhealthy ways of self-love, unhealthy relationship stuff. Maybe they based too much of their happiness on, I talked about this in another video or a post on Instagram, I don't know. Follow my Instagram, at Jesse Innocent Astro. But yeah, like I think that those ones can definitely show a lot of karma. So yeah. Okay, next one is a big one. It is the psychological split in a chart. So let me explain that. And let me write down the time too. But basically, this is, so I have 2 masters in psychology. So like I always combine psychology and astrology with my readings, right? So a split, it's more when you have the whole reading at one. But basically in psychology, a split is when you have 2 conflicting sides to your, I guess, to your being, to your psyche, right? And astrology really helps with this. And I like to, so, this, you can look at this as karmic because like, and by the way, I teach myself everything. So everything I'm talking about is not from a book. It's from my meditations. It's from my downloads during readings with clients. So like, it's up to you if you want to believe me, I mean, it works in my readings. My readings are extremely accurate. So like, I just, the stuff that sticks, I stick with it. So really, I don't know. I don't really like like learn from anyone else, to be honest, unless they know something I really, really want to know that I'm not specialized in. But I prefer teaching myself. But anyways, like, so like in me, I'm a good example of a split, right? I think that it comes from having two different past lives, or just like two, this is my idea. This is more Jesse philosophy hour. But like, I think when you have like, so I'm a Pisces sun, Sag moon, Leo rising with Leo south node, right? So Pisces and Sag, they square each other, the sun and moon. So like, how does that make sense? Like, it doesn't make sense. I have these two parts of me that are completely different, you know? Like the Leo Sag, I always say that the Pisces part wants to sit around and meditate all day. It's super sensitive. And the Leo Sag part is just like kind of what you see more when I'm on camera, probably. I don't know what I am when I'm on camera, but I'm definitely not making videos when I'm in my like sad Pisces mood. So it's a lot easier. It would be a lot easier if I was, let's say I was an Aquarius sun. Well, yeah, Aquarius sun, like I said, have the opposition. But the point is this. The point is like, at least I wouldn't have the sun and the moon as a square. Or so if you have that as a square or opposition, you know, where they're 6 signs away, born on a full moon, even a quincunx, right, 5 signs away. You know, and for sun and moon, it's, yes, of course, like the angle matters, like the aspect, but really think more about just the just the sign. Like, don't go so crazy with, and it's not just sun and moon, but sun and moon is a good place to start, right? So like back to my chart is that as the example, then I have Aquarius, Venus, and Mars, right? And then my Mercury is with my sun in Pisces. So it's kind of like this army of Pisces, Sun, and Mercury, which are together in a Cazimi conjunction, versus everything else, right? A rising, South Node. South Node's very, very powerful, by the way. That will be a next video I make. I'm gonna write that down right now. But I'm giving you guys so much game for free. I don't know. It's like my fear, but I can't manifest that fear. But yeah, so it's really like about feeding both mouths, and it's difficult, right? And a lot of times someone will favor, let's say if someone it's like a Capricorn Cancer, like let's say a male is a Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon, like they might just favor that Capricorn side because it's more masculine so much, and then they'll need like a partner to like fulfill that Cancer side, which can lead to codependency and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, like I guess just like I was saying before, in many examples, like even like a Scorpio Gemini, right? It's like you have like that really Scorpio side that's very serious, and then that Gemini side that's very curious and playful, and one that's really internal, one that wants to get out there. It's like, how do you make both of those work together? And a lot of people have that, and I believe that's very karmic. I believe everything is karmic. So yeah. So next is rough family karma. So basically, this is a big umbrella term. I guess what I would say for that, you know, do you have any planet, you know, what's your IC, like your 4th house? Like for example, I have Pluto on my IC, but it's square my nodes, right? So it's like, you know, if you do have any planets on the IC, like outer planets are difficult, and it's square the nodes, like that is intense, like just karma in general. But yeah, and that's also like, I'll talk about that one later. But yeah, rough family karma, and you know, I do family readings for anyone that's interested. They're custom orders, so you have to DM me on Instagram at Jesse Instant Astro. And I give like individual quotes for those, but they're really interesting and deep readings. And I always find like these insane themes. Like let's say someone has a reading for like 5 family members, and I just go through everyone's chart. I find I'm very good at pattern recognition. It's like one of my gifts. So like I just find the patterns, and it's just crazy what you see in each family. But really, it comes down to the fact that you know that we incarnate in our family. you know, like there's a reason for it, right? And sometimes people are incarnating in the same family over and over and over and over. And, you know, oftentimes people overlook the importance of that, right? Because it's very easy to just not get along with your sibling or your parents, but then it's like they're all here to teach you something. So I see a lot of clients, like for me, like, I mean, maybe it's what I attract, I don't know, who have something in their chart that I always say, it hasn't happened in a while actually, but for a while it was like every single, it always happens to me where I'll just have like, for example, now I think I've had like 15 Chiron and Taurus in a row, you know? Before that, yeah. But yeah, it's like a lot of times I'll see things in charts where I'll be like, yeah, you are literally the one who's meant to break this, whatever this family curse is. Like a Hades moon would be a good example, like, you know, moon conjunct Pluto, especially in Scorpio, or square, or yeah. So, you know, when I do those those family readings, I look for the puzzle, you know, the cosmic trends and all that. But just in an individual's chart, you know, you can tell a lot by, you know, what aspects to the moon, for example, their fourth house. I see, you know, you can really, I'm not going to go into all of it, but you can tell by looking at someone's chart. Like, let's say they have like a 12th house moon or 12th house sun, you know. 12th house moon is a, you know, a absent mother, 12th house sun's absent father. It's never, that one's never failed me, right? So yeah, that's one that's more of like a big umbrella term, and I could use like a whole video. Okay. So next is a massive Scorpio / Pluto / 8th house emphasis. I guess we could just call it like massive, just a scorpionic, a Plutonian / scorpionic chart. Keep it shorter, right? So yeah, with that one, you know, a lot of times it can take many forms, but a lot of times it's someone who refused in past lives to take risks and to grow, to take risks towards that would lead them towards transformation, right? So, you know, the opposite sign is Taurus, right? So, you know, when you have that, especially like when I see someone who has their north node in Scorpio, south node in Taurus, I'm like, all right. But like it goes both ways. Like with even with the south node in Scorpio, it's like, okay, well, this person has come in with a lot of like they're here to chill out, right? Or just like the node, one of the nodes with Pluto, like that's crazy, right? Because, you know, if it's a north node, it's like, all right, it's kind of like the same, it's similar to having like a north node in Scorpio, right? It's like you're going towards your darkness in this life. South node, it's like, it's kind of, it's different but similar. It's like you're trying to overcome. You know, you're trying to overcome. And some people with that south node in Scorpio, like they have that obsession, that unconscious obsession with that need for drama. Like shit, like I'm even thinking about this for myself. I have Pluto square the nodes. I'm like, do I like only, I don't know. I'm like, do I only like girls who are toxic? I'm just joking. It's not true. But no, I was thinking about like, you know, am I unconsciously attracted to drama, even though I'm a completely non-dramatic person? These are just thoughts. I don't know. In my Instagram, if you guys aren't from my Instagram, if you guys watch this in the future, I'm very, very, very like, I just talk about my life. Like I'm very transparent. So on YouTube, I'm just like, we'll see how I am. But yeah, so like really it's about surrendering. And I think that people who have that Scorpio in this life, a lot of times they, not always, but I think especially if the north node's there, that they are meant to surrender in some way. And you might find that odd to hear because, you know, you see Scorpios as those people who are so deep and so transformational, and sometimes that is the case, right? it's not in every instance. You have to look at the whole chart, the whole everything, right? I know Scorpios who are just like, they are not in this box. You know, they have definitely not run away from the grind. So, yeah. Also, yeah, like I would say like any like squares, sun or moon, sun, you know, Venus to Pluto also showing up in our psyche. You know, it's just like where Pluto falls in what house. You know, it's just showing where we need to confront our inner darkness and transform. So the more Pluto is showing up in your chart, the more Scorpio planets you have, the more 8th house you have, the more you know that process of death, rebirth, regeneration. Yeah. What is it? I always forget that one. But, you know, the more, you know, death, rebirth, transformation. Duh. You know, the more you know that one, that is a theme that's needed. And a lot of people who have this, they're stuck in this kind of like this wheel, you know, this endless karmic cycle. So it's like, yeah, it's time to change. Time to change. But, you know, everyone at their own speed, right? So just because someone has a lot of that doesn't mean that they've held themselves back. It could just mean, okay, that this person has reached the evolutionary point where they're ready to make that big jump. Okay. So next, I would say is, yeah, just the nodes in general. Like, I would call it, the, I'm trying to think of how, yeah, just like what the nodes are doing, aspects to the nodes. You know, if you have, like, let's say, I'll call this part nodes. But yeah, if you have like squares to your nodes, that's skip steps karmically. So you know, like if you have a lot of squares to your nodes or just planets on your nodes, right? Because if you have a planet on your south node, that's opposing your north node. If you have a planet on your north node, that's opposing your south node. So, like, you know, a planet on your north node, yes, it is part of your journey in this lifetime, right? It's part of your nodal story. So, but like, it still is something that blocked you in the past, right? And the square is even more of a tension. But it's more of an internal tension. So, yeah, like if you have, you know, like let's say you have like a Mercury square nodes. Maybe you have like a lot of internal messaging and introjects and self-limiting beliefs that hold you back, right? You know, it goes on and on and on. I've seen a lot of charts, you know, and this is dives into my own kind of system and whatnot, which, you know, I book a reading, it'll pop up right here. But you know, like it's very hard to say. It's very hard to explain it because it's so different person to person, and it really is like like everyone's. You know, everyone's is different. You know, everyone's chart is different. Everyone's karma is different, but you can see a lot by what the nodes are doing, and you know, like yeah. So like for me, for example, South Node of Leo, 12th house, square Pluto. So sad. On the IC, Pluto on the IC, and then there's North Node in Leo in the 6th, or North Node in Aquarius, 6th house. So it's like obviously like, and North Node's with Venus, right? So Venus was opposite my South Node in the 12th house in Leo. So obviously like I was an esoteric type Leo person, right? like I am today. But, you know, definitely dabbling in the esoteric arts, and, you know, it's probably no surprise to anyone. Sorry, I need to charge this. Does this charger not work? But yeah, so basically that's kind of like, if you think about it, one sec, guys, I really need to have my computer be charging or it's going to die. And this whole video is going to waste. I've never used this charger before. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so basically like Venus opposite, you know, Venus square Pluto, Venus opposite my south node, it's basically telling a past life story that there's probably a female, right, Venus, female, who betrayed me, and it cost me a lot, you know. Maybe it led me into 12th house addiction, 12th house, you know, maybe like some, you know, like with Pluto square, it could have been that I was murdered, honestly, on the IC. I could have been betrayed by someone really, really close to my heart, you know, that, you know, there's so many different potentials, right? But that's like, you know, and then I would carry into this lifetime that trauma, but I wouldn't remember why. And that's actually very, very common with my story, which if you're interested in reading my book, it's not a book about me. It's called Pisces Live 9 Lives. It's on Amazon. I'll have him pop a copy up right here. But yeah, like I think that it's really important to understand these things, because there can be many different versions, right? So yeah, so okay, so besides that, so it's really so yeah, I would say like also, oh, well, I guess to finish what I was saying, like North Node Aquarius, it's like, okay, well, it's less, it has to be me helping other people in this lifetime, right? So whenever I've tried to go towards my, and we'll do a video on this in a little bit. I'll do my next one on the South Node, but like basically like when I'm doing things that are helping other people selflessly, Aquarius, it actually helps me, and my love life is better. If I'm trying to be Leo in my ego, right? You know, it's not good. But then like square Pluto, that's like I have to do the shadow work. You know, I can't just like fly Icarus, sun, whatever. You know, I have to be humble. And so yeah, there's many different ways you can interpret like the kind of karmic story. Okay, another thing that is trippy, I'm just going to touch on it really kind of very simply before I get into the Capricorn stuff, is that you can, that and I see this a lot in family readings. So a planet in your chart, this is trippy, guys, can be conjunct someone in your family's or someone important in your life's chart. Like for example, like my sun is 28 Pisces, my dad's Saturn is 28 Pisces, right? My ascendant is 28 and change Leo, my mom's Pluto is 28 and change Leo, right? On that topic, my dad's always favored, growing up, he always favored my brother, my little brother, right? Now it's not like that anymore, but like that's just how it was, right? So he was really hard on me, Saturn, right? And yeah, so it's just crazy, right? Is it my brother, or I think it's my brother who has his Lilith. And then like also, like for example, like my Pluto's in the third house, and I've always had like a kind of chippy, like I love my brother, he's like a great person, but like we're just so different, right? In third house is little sibling. My brother in his chart, 11th house is your older sibling. That's where he has his Saturn, right? Which is me, which Saturn is the father, and he won't admit it, but like even like a psychic said it to me, that I'm pretty much like his father in this lifetime, like on a spiritual level, even though he would never admit it, and he probably won't realize it till he's like way older. But yeah, so but also Black Moon Lilith, his Black Moon Lilith is there too, and his it's at 28 Pisces. Crazy, right? And to make it even crazier, my dad, who always favored my brother, his Jupiter is at 14 Cancer, which is my brother's sun. So imagine that. My dad is born without knowing he's going to have kids. He's born at 28, Saturn 28 Pisces, Jupiter, whatever, I think it's 14 or whatever, Cancer. And he has one kid that has a 28-degree Pisces sun and one kid with a 14-degree Cancer sun. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's insane. Okay. Next, let's talk about a lot of, so we have a lot of other things I could talk about. Yeah, just like a lot of Capricorn in the chart. So if someone has a lot of Capricorn or a lot of Saturn, that's the planet of karma. So, they are being taught a lot and their lives, especially like, so this could be, square, especially like, like squares, oppositions, to key planets, to personal planets, a tough Saturn placement, like if it's on your moon or something, or opposite your moon, square your moon, or opposite your Venus, or square your Venus, like on your ascendant even, right? It just really restricts you a lot, but it teaches you tough lessons that you have to learn, right? It's like that hard teacher, and it's like you keep coming back, you keep fucking up, so guess what? We're going to give it hard to you for the first 30 years especially, but after that, you're going to learn these lessons, and you are going to be like, it's like you're going to drill school, and you're going to be good, So, like I always say Saturn, it's like the teacher that sees your full potential and you don't like them at the time, but then you have that great gratitude for them, right? So yeah, I would say like a lot of times very Saturnian people, like they're in situations karmically where they have to grow up really fast as kids. They don't really get to be kids. They have like a lot of responsibilities early on. Maybe they come from very difficult circumstances. A lot of times I see them like where they are like, it's almost like, cause it's the opposite sign of Cancer. So it's a lot of times like they feel like they are opposed, they're like opposing, somehow their family is opposing them, or they have to be like the parent to their parents. It's crazy, right? Or the parent to their siblings because the parents are messed up. There's all kinds of stuff, right? But yeah, it's just that energy of never giving up. And then when that, Saturn return arrives, the fortunes turn, right? And it always gets better. Saturn, it always gets better and easier over time. So these are important karmic lessons. They shouldn't be looked at as, if you have a very Saturnian chart, don't look at your first 30 years from a place of shame. Look at you're a victor, you're a winner, you did it. And now it's gonna get easier and easier for you. Okay. So next is if one of the 6 astrological axes is emphasized, I have to do a video on that. I'm going to write that down right now. So basically, the 6 axes are the 12 signs, right? And essentially, it's like Aries, Libra is one, right? Taurus, Scorpio is the other. I already have like my first video of the Cosmos Session series is on the what you can learn from your opposite sign. Everyone go back and watch that. It's probably my best video that I've done on my YouTube. Maybe this one will be my best. Who knows? But yeah, basically, I guess I'll just name them all, right? After that, we have, Cancer, Capricorn, Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, Capricorn, and Leo, Aquarius, and Virgo, Pisces, right? So if you have one of those axes, and it's not just by planets, right? It can be in different ways, right? For example, it could be with houses, right? Like, let's say that you have like a lot of Leo, and then you have a lot of 11th house, but you don't have much Aquarius because the 11th house is linked to Aquarius. Like that would still symbolize that. But let's just think about this from like a, like based on the planets. Because a lot of people do have like a few axes that are really, like a lot of their planets are in these 2 opposing signs, and it's just very, very obvious. So that is a very clear indication that, you know, you are here to, ooh, my phone goes falling, that you are here to, you know, to understand the balance of that axis. So I would, well, I guess it'll probably be a future video where I explain like kind of how to balance those axes out. But I pretty much do it in my video, in my first video. You know, what you should learn about your opposing sign. But you know, it can be very difficult because because there is that need for balance, right? And sometimes someone will have like a lot more, like let's say with you know, with Aries Libra, right? If they're so Aries, it's like it's all about, you know, they need to learn compromise. They need to learn that diplomacy of Libra, you know, all that more kind of ability to see the other person's perspective. You know, I'm not going to go all the way into it. But then Libra, if they have, you know, with Aries, they need to learn to be assertive, to have boundaries, to speak up for themselves, you know, stuff like, so it's really like, it shows it's an axis or an opposite sign. It's the same energy, just an opposite manifestation. So, you know, it's important to kind of integrate those and find the balance. And yeah, like for example, with Pisces, Virgo, it's like, okay, maybe you've been too wishy-washy in past lives. Like maybe you've had I was talking to my friend recently, and she was saying how she knows a lot of Pisces men who are exactly in the same spot now as they were 10 years ago, right? And they have all these big dreams. And I always say this, like, as like the low side of Pisces, it's like having all these big ideas, big imaginations, but then not doing anything about it, right? So yeah, like with Virgo, it's like about understanding the step-by-step process. But then with Virgo to Pisces, it could be like the person who is just so worried about everything, and they fail to just trust the universe. You know, they just can't trust the universe, and then, you know, they manifest that negativity, right? So yeah, like also it could be like being too, you know, like too stuck in the material world and not enough in like that Piscean magical world, right? So that Piscean oneness, right? Connection to the divine, right? So yeah, I'd say that. So what else do I want to talk about? I guess like it's like, this one's more specific, but like having Chiron or Saturn rising, I feel like is very karmic, because I mean, you are literally wearing your pain with Chiron on your sleeves, right? Like it's just your ascendant. So it's on your face, right? And then the Saturn, it's kind of like that, not always the most, you know, Saturn rising people, they can sometimes come off as very cold or very serious. And of course, you know, there is a point to it, but like I've talked to a lot of Chiron rising people who just said that, like, you know, they just, people like saw them as just like the sad kid when they were growing up, you know? And I just feel like having that as your external energy is just rough, you know? Obviously with age, it manifests, and that person a lot of times becomes a healer, but you know, and their ascendant obviously progress, you know, your ascendant progresses. I should make a video about progressions too. But you know, your ascendant progresses, so it moves away from that. But still, like, you still always have your natal chart, and that could lead, yeah, it could lead to, like, I've heard people getting bullied, picked on, who have that, and you know, with Saturn, I've seen it better long term, but sometimes it's just hard. Yeah, it's just like you know, they'll be like, yeah, I was the kid that was always like serious, that was always like in charge, organizing, kind of like that in the shows, like the kid in high school who's like the head student body president or whatever, and just like kind of a nerd or not always. I have a few friends who have this who are amazing, and they're actually just incredible workers and incredible people. But yeah, so yeah, that's about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys would add in the comments. There's obviously a lot more I could have said. You know, like for example, Saturn placements. Like I could go in like you know, for example, having like Saturn in the 5th house. I guess I'll add that one in there too. You know, or Saturn in the 5th house, or lack of fire. That's actually a really good one. Or Saturn in the 5th, or Saturn in fire, Saturn in fire / Chiron in fire. And also just like a lack of fire, right? And it could be said with like all the elements, but really let's like Saturn, like, so Saturn in the 5th house is really difficult because it's just like makes it hard to have fun, you know? Even if your Saturn's like in like a sign like Leo, or Chiron in Leo, you know, it's just tough because it's like you want to be able to let go and have fun and all this and that. And also if you lack, you know, and then Chiron there's a lot of pain associated with that. It's usually, you know, in the charts, a lot of those people that have to really kind of grow up very, very, very fast. So, yeah, like it's tough. And lacking fire also overall, I think, is really hard because in this world, like you need fire to self-start. I know people who don't have any fire in their chart, and it's so hard for them. Like I can think of one person who actually has no fire in his chart, tons of these oppositions I'm talking about, and Chiron in Leo, you know? So it's like he just has so much trouble. Is it in Aries or Leo? He has so much trouble getting started with things, you know? Like it's just like almost impossible. He's just stuck, you know? And so much Saturn going on, right? So that's a very karmic chart. And you ask, okay, well, what's the point of that? Like if this individual is not moving, if there's that inertia, well, the point is that God works in very mysterious ways, right? And, you know, I would say that it's just important. It's just important to understand. Sorry, I'm just writing this down. But it's important to understand that the answers you seek, astrology will help you, but you still got to do the work, you know? Like, you could get a reading from me where I hit everything on the nail, but like, you have to do the work. And if you allow, I need to make a video about this too. Like, if you allow astrology to self-limit you, like if you, like for example, if you, if you're like, oh, I can't do this because I'm too sensitive, or like I'm a Pisces, I'm too sensitive, I can't do this, you know, or like that's one of the big dangers, right? Like, oh, I have no fire, so that's my excuse to just like not be motivated. In my case, I have no earth. That's my excuse to not go running after I finish this, right? No, I'm going running. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a crazy long video. I did not expect it to go this long. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe. Hopefully I'm over 1.99. I was looking at my YouTube thing. It said 1.99K subscribers. I was like, of course. Watch it just stay there, because my Instagram has just like stayed at the same number, or like around the same number forever. So yeah. But thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, we're gonna keep pumping them out. I don't care if this takes 2-3 years for my YouTube to get going. I'm just tired of Instagram. You know, I'm tired of Instagram, and I need a platform. I love YouTube. It's my favorite app, and I know it's oversaturated, but maybe new people, you know, will find me and like me on here. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But thank you. And if you want to book a reading, at the time of me making this, my list is, I think, 8 or 9, which usually it's way more, like I always say. So right here and in the bio will be a link to my website, jesseinnocentastrology.com. But also, you know, feel free to message me on Instagram, or it's better to email me. It's better to email me at up here, it'll show. So yeah, like I don't really see a lot of my DMs. I do my best, but it's tough. You know, I get a lot of them, and I'm a Pisces, so yeah, I still appreciate them, but the best way is follow me on my Instagram, Jesse Innocent Astro. You know, comment on my posts, because like I do better at responding to comments than I do DMs. So thank you guys. Let me know in the comments your reaction to this, your experiences. That's one way how I learn. I read them all, even if I don't respond to them all. Gracias muchísimo. Ciao from Argentina.